Welcome to all of our creative agents and investors nationwide. Today is Thursday, April 10th, 2025, and this is All The Leads Mastermind podcast number 523. I have nothing to open with this week. Tim, what have you got for us?
I thought you were going to sing a song or something,
I could.
some sort of, nah, really, it's okay. Appreciate it.
Talk about those Gators.
All right, Carney, you're out of here. Yeah, basketball is over for a while. Now we're into recruiting in the portal to see what's going to be next year's college basketball fun.
And now we're getting close to the hockey playoffs for those of us that live in hockey towns.
There you go.
Yeah, the Panthers are going to repeat, so it's over. I mean, yeah, Florida Panthers. Yep. Not the Carolina.
Jim's a huge hockey fan. You know that, right?
Not really, but it's the only winning Florida team lately, so I gotta go with them. Yeah.
Well, listen, guys, enough.
It's a rough opening. It's a rough opening.
Yeah, it is. It is. That's pretty bleak. Hey, listen, just to set the stage here, we usually have one of these every month where we have no planned agenda, no nothing, and it is your meeting. So we want to hear from you and all the wonderful things that are going on in your world. At the bottom of your screen, you'll either see a heart or a hand. If you click on either one of those, you'll see something that says raise your hand. And just like Eric did, we will call on you as soon as we see that. So there you go. Eric, you got something? Let's go from you, buddy.
Yeah, great. Thank you for having me. I'm 2/3 through Probate Mastery, the first one that Chuck did. And in it, he was talking about talking to your old clients, your clients for life clients, and suggesting that if they have 100,000 more in equity, that you'll connect them and give them an hour of an attorney's time. I want to know what went first. Do you find the attorney first and say, hey, I've got clients, or do you tell the clients you're going to give them an hour first, and then who pays for the hour? Or is that something that attorneys typically do as an intake?
Hey, phenomenal. Most attorneys did. Great question. Most attorneys will give 30 minutes as an intake. Some give an hour, some give 2 hours, just free. I normally would want to find one attorney first. But the reality is you could go find a client first if you know them really well. So if they're a close friend or client that you communicate with frequently, you may talk to them about this and then say, hey, my suggestion is that I find you an attorney. And don't give them a time frame. So if you don't have an attorney yet, you might talk to the client and say, give me a week or two to arrange a consultation with or a free hour with an attorney, or a free 2 hours with an attorney, whatever you're going to offer, and then go get the attorney. So there is a way to seesaw this back and forth. So you could get one or two clients that are not pressed for time, and they're fine giving you that couple of week leniency to go find attorneys. And then when you reach out to attorneys, I did this morning. When you reach out to attorneys, you reference clients. How much more likely are they going to call you back or take your call if you reference clients and it's not just a fishing expedition for you? Find that attorney or two, and then go back to your bigger audience and mention that you have attorneys that are willing to give time, and build up more people that are interested in that service, and then go back to your list of attorneys and go create more relationships with attorneys. You can seesaw back and forth like this a lot, and use the attorney relationships to create client relationships, and the client relationships to get more attorneys. Now, as far as what they're going to do, I have one attorney who provides a free hour, and she'll do 2 hours for $100. And after that, somebody's got to be committed. So I'll normally pay $100 for their 2 hours. But sometimes they don't need the whole thing. And essentially she offers me, if it doesn't take me 2 hours to kind of give them their direction, then it's free. If it's only an hour to give them their direction, but if I need to spend a little extra time with them, Bruce, I'll charge you $100. And that's okay with me because I've created value for my client. I was probably going to give them, I was going to take them to dinner or something anyway. So just to nurture that relationship was going to cost me a little bit of money anyway. So, you could start with either one, in my opinion. I would probably, if you have an attorney already, call them first. If you don't have an attorney yet, get a couple of clients on board that are interested in this first, and then call a few attorneys and ask how much they would charge for a consultation. And they'll probably do 30 minutes for free. I've only run into one in my market that does less than 30 minutes. They're 15 minutes free. The majority of them are 30 minutes, and some of them are an hour.
Okay, thank you. A couple follow-ups are, I don't have a living trust for my family set up, so I was thinking about using that as a way to go interview and see which ones I like, and therefore be able to refer better in that way. And then also I have some clients just closed, but they're out of state. So we can't refer a California attorney to an out of state client, right?
I think it's best to keep attorneys in the state that your clients are in, but it's not mandatory. It's not mandatory. They can, you can set up a trust, and people do this all the time. They set up trusts in a state where their assets are not located. There's tax advantages sometimes to having a trust in one state versus another. And so people will set up a trust. So I may live in North Carolina. Maybe I set up a trust in Nevada. I could do that. So it's normally I would try to keep the attorneys in the local market with the clients, but you absolutely don't have to. I've got a potential client right now with assets in North Carolina, but they live in Georgia. They're putting their assets that are in North Carolina into their Georgia trust. So that's can be done.
Okay. So it's kind of like an LLC in that way. There's some advantages per different states.
Yes, I can't speak to what advantages there are, but there are. Yes.
Yeah. And then
Is your question pertaining to referring people outside of California to a California attorney regarding a probate in California?
well, the
trust.
probate has closed, but I was following up on the follow-up to do to past clients and suggest that since, I mean, I was talking to one lady and two people, they've already done 2 probates. And I say, well, are you going to set up your family trust? And they're like, no, hadn't really thought about it. Like, I'm going to leave a mess for someone else.
Okay, I got it.
But so I'm thinking also, because I want to set up one for my family, that would be a good way to get in, interview, and see the benefits of working with different attorneys. And therefore, I'll have established that relationship that I can then refer.
Amazing.
Great idea.
Do that.
Do that. Okay.
Eric, I think that's great. And just a personal story. My wife and I set up a trust in 2000, 25 years ago. And we recently pulled it out. Somebody told us, if you set up a trust and you ignore it for 20 years and you don't fund it, it's better than nothing, but it's almost worthless. I mean, you know how much changes in 25 years? We've been through several real estate roller coaster booms and busts. Nothing we owned back then do we still own now. And we get more kids, more grandkids. So that is another thing. If you talk to people that say, oh yeah, we set up a trust years ago, you might just ask them, have you had it reviewed, or have you bought or sold anything since then? If not, and you don't fund it, it's almost, I mean, it's still better to have one, but it's way better to have one and to at least update it every 5 years or so. So even if they already have one, it still could be of value to have somebody else. We had a friend of ours, an attorney, set up the original one. It was really simple. The latest one, we went to a professional who specializes in trusts, and I was just blown away with how much work he did for a few $1,000s. I mean, it wasn't free, but it was every possible if-then scenario was considered, and it's in there. So all our kids got to do is call this phone number, when the time comes. So just a suggestion for people that already have it. You still can provide value there.
Cool. Thank you, guys.
Sure.
Thanks for good questions. Those are good. Everyone needs to be doing this with your client base.
Well, and using that as a qualifying way to get in to talk to an attorney, that's brilliant. That's a great idea. And I think it also gives you the ability to go back to past people that you've talked to and, just kind of look at their circumstances, see what's going on now. Like Jim said, he set a trust up 25 years ago and put it under his pillow. And that happens to all of us. We do that. We feel good. We check the box. We feel good now. We move on. And, I know of countless stories where people have, did a good job 20 years ago. And like Jim said, you're not staying on top of it. You definitely need to know where you stand. And I, in the volatility of the market lately, for the first time in a while, actually went in and, spent some time poking around in my 401k to see what's been going on and, where I put things the last time I looked at it. I made some changes that I should have made probably 2 years ago. And, it's one of those things where people tell you to do this. You may have changed advisors, your company may have changed and all that. And every time that stuff changes, you need to be looking at your stuff. This isn't the time to, be playing ostrich with your assets. But getting some help right now would be a good, smart thing to go do, and it's a great way to qualify people. Steve, how you doing, man? You played hooky last week, and you went off to a seminar. Did you get a lot out of that?
Yes and no. And I don't mean to be flippant in my response. There was some good information, but then you got the pitch on buying this program.
Oh, yeah.
It really was not well defined. And I was like, okay, there's some things, but like anything else, you don't know till you try. So I continue to try, and I'm delving into it and learning how to ask better prompts in AI. So I am in a course that I'm using. So
very cool.
It's been very helpful. I've already used it in the business, and it's good.
That's good. That's good. Well, keep us abreast of any exciting things that you find. We're trying to, we've been talking a lot in the last several weeks about AI and all of that. We're kind of leaving that off today. We've got some other stuff cooking, and we just kind of want to devote this to talk about probate and divorce and the differences between, this is probably a valid question to ask. Talked to two pretty good sized folks the other day and during the course of this week, and one of them was very unclear about the differences between pre-probate and probate. And I'm like, well, that seems pretty obvious to us, but like everything else, it seems pretty obvious to us because we deal with it every day. So I think it's probably worthwhile to have a quick conversation kind of about that and talk a little bit about the differences and, why it's valid and all those sorts of things. We're also doing some looking at creating what we're going to, maybe at some point call a mega lead or whatever. And that is everything we possibly know about anything having to do with this life transition. And Dale, I'll get to you in just a second. Thanks, bud. And what I mean by that is, we already have pre-probate information that probably we did intake on at the point of notification of death. It could be months, even years after that probate gets filed. That information is still valid because we've already gone out and we found all the heirs, we found property, we've done all the research. Certainly valid to know where that stands going forward. Now it inputs as, and we take it in as intake for probate. Now it's actually filed. The heirs are still there. You've got everybody you need to talk to. So we're looking at where the overlap is. Do we in fact, what percentage of ones that we start with as probate turn into probates? Start as pre-probate, turn into probates. And how do we overlay that and potentially do a refresh of data on probate to include the pre-probate information, which finds everything that, we found back then, and refreshes it today with all the same data. So we're looking at that a little bit, but the differences primarily between them real quickly are that obviously probate, very simply, is that it has been filed in a court. Someone has been appointed as a personal representative, and that's the information that we give you. And that's where we start with that one. We literally start with a probate that has a docket number established and it's a court filing. In the pre-probate product, we're starting with notice of death, whether that's an obituary, it's a listing on Legacy or any one of the national sites for funeral home listings, things like that. We literally start there, and that's the very tip of the iceberg. Once we find that, a person has passed away in a certain area, that's when we get to work and we go take a look at that person, where they lived when they passed, what property they owned on a national basis, who the heirs are, and who all the contact information is. So one is a very, you could potentially be getting someone and their information on someone who passed away last week in the pre-probate product, where in probate, it's got to be filed. And that's essentially the difference in them. Historically, initially, we thought that, probate would be pretty much an agent-based product because they want to get a house sold or something like that, and that the pre-probate product might potentially be a great investor product or maybe skewed more towards the investor side. It's proven that both investors and realtors like both of them, and hence the reason that we're thinking about kind of putting them together. But that briefly kind of just sort of tells you that those are the differences. And if you have other questions, be happy to talk to them and address your questions about them now. Dill, go ahead, bud. Unmute yourself there. Yep, I can hear you.
So I have my whole team with me today, some of the team, and we're going to be jumping in this thing full time, really, full force, the way I supposed to should have done 2016 when I originally spoke to Jim. Remember that?
Better late than never. That's
You
okay.
tell me about it. Let him, that's my line. Yeah. So we met in DC meetings in May of 2016, and then
NAR conference in Washington DC. Yep.
Exactly. Yep. What year did you guys start the company? Was it about the same time?
I mean, we had the idea about 2010. I think we really started in about 13, right, Tim? 2012, 2013.
Yeah, I mean, we formed the company in 2014. We started messing around with it, talking about it in 2015, but we really, if anybody asks, we always say 2014, and we actually have a corporate document from late 14 for early 15.
Gotcha. All right. So I'm only 10 years late. So now we're going to be full time into it. And we got a plan, the whole thing. So probate mastery, I did that years ago. I think it's time for me to update that, and maybe this time around, all of us will attend it. And I've been trying to figure out, I've been talking to you, Jim, trying to figure out how to do this with all my team in the office, right? Hired a telemarketer a while back, didn't work out. Now I'm making calls myself, and I realize only so many calls I can make. So I'm setting up a system where agents can come into the office, set up one computer for that purpose only, and all of us make calls and take a community approach towards it. Everybody can make calls, and whoever gets the hook on. It's like back in the day we used to call FISBOs and expireds, right? And the FISBO will say something else to agent number 1. 10 minutes later, the same homeowner will say something else to the caller number 2 and caller number 3, and we will be sitting in the same room making calls and realizing what they're telling each one of us. And it's an amazing way of hunting, right? So we're going to be starting doing that kind of methodology. So how to go approach the probate mastery thing? Sign up somewhere? It's a timing for it?
So, Dill, I think you and I need to have a conversation about that. I want you signing up through All The Leads, but you and I will have a separate conversation about who needs to be certified, who doesn't, who's taking the class. I'll convey that back to ATL so that they can get you. It will be discounted if you buy it through All The Leads compared to what it is directly through Probate Mastery. This applies to everybody listening to this call. The price is better if you buy through the alltheleads.com/training. So the training platform of All The Leads. but your use case is a little bit specific, so I want to have a phone conversation with you.
Okay, call me anytime today, no problem.
Perfect.
All right, thank you.
Let me make sure I have your phone number. I'm just gonna chat you separately, privately in Zoom, and make sure that I have your phone number correct.
917.
I'll chat you privately.
Oh, sure, no problem.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
And Dill, if I remember correctly, those 8 years worth of leads that you haven't worked, I think we refreshed them for you recently, didn't
3
we?
years.
3, okay. I
think we-
exaggerated a little bit.
We did 3 years. I don't know which ones though. I wrote it down somewhere, but it's probably 2021 or 2022 or 2023.
Yeah, so we went back a few years and refreshed all those leads for you. So that'd be a great place to start, because those are ones that definitely have real estate that has not been sold, or very, very likely have real estate that hasn't been sold yet. And after this much time has passed, if they're ever going to do something, they probably are ready, and you have almost no competition.
I have over 9,600 leads in my system.
Wow.
I never called. So,
Yeah.
and I did the math. It's a crazy numbers, So,
And if I remember correctly, we refreshed a couple thousand of them.
Yep.
And it seems to me like a good 10-15% of them years later hadn't done anything yet. Is that about right?
Yeah. And I'm calling them myself, and I'm finding out in certain cases, I think majority of the cases, if the address is matching for the PR and the deceased person, somebody's living in the house. That's a surviving spouse, or sometimes a son or a daughter or somebody. In those cases, I had some decent. So one of the benefits of me calling myself, finally, I feel like I'm going back to the basics. When I started in the business in 2000, right? You learn from every conversation, make the notes, and the conversations are much more productive. Hanging up, I start the text message with a few families. I talk to them like, we're not selling, maybe another 15 years, but regardless, it's a conversation.
Gotcha.
Which no telemarketer can do it, I feel like. Right? It's a shame it took me a long time to get to this point. So,
Okay, never too late to get started. So
Exactly.
you'll do well. And I think you were working divorce leads also, aren't you, or not?
Yes. So
Okay.
the last week I got a very good answer from somebody. They say, I just, I feel like there's something happening, life changing. I wrote it down. Life changing event happened, right? Without saying divorce, but I haven't called them yet. So we're gonna be now we're gonna have multiple people approach. So my deal count is anywhere about 200 a month between divorce and probate, and I think we're gonna be calling most of them now.
Yeah.
You're on Staten Island, right?
I'm on Staten Island. Why?
Yeah. Are you just working? Are you primarily working Staten Island, or are you working all the boroughs?
I'm working primarily Staten Island right now, but if there's an opening in Brooklyn, I'm in for it.
Okay.
If you have an opening in Brooklyn, I will go for it. And James, you and I will talk on the side about Staten Island market. If you give me a call when you get a chance.
Yeah, I'm sure we do have space in Brooklyn also, but
Yeah, you do.
yeah. I mean, you want to get situated with what you're doing, or we can talk later.
But now, since we're going full force, we can talk about it. If numbers make sense, you know me.
Okay.
We'll
Sounds
do it.
good.
Once I do, and then I'm stuck with it. That's it. I never looked at my credit card statement. It just bothers me too much when I look at it. So
Brooklyn is Kings County, correct?
Kings County, yes.
Okay, I thought so. I will check that and I'll get back to you. I'll let Bruce call you first. I'll get back to you with that afterwards.
What do you think, buddy? Right? Okay, yeah. So we have people who work in Brooklyn, and we do very good. The prices are crazy in Brooklyn.
Yeah, that's great.
You got a Taj Mahal in Staten Island for $1.5 million. You got a 2-bedroom shack in Brooklyn for $1.5 million. That's just the way it is.
Yep.
I understand you can get a good deal on a used Staten Island ferry. Is that right?
Yeah, somebody bought it. The guy from SNL did it.
Yes,
Right.
How much did he pay for it? I don't know. It was pretty cheap, actually.
$250,000. I think he and Colin Jost split it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They're opening a comedy club or something, I heard.
Something. Yeah.
That's from a comedy club. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh,
Pretty crazy.
yep, it is.
Well,
All
Gil,
right.
you're gonna be our precautionary and our success story. Don't wait as long as Dill, but look what he finally did after 10 years.
Well, that's the plan.
All right.
I've been sleeping for too long.
Well, I think you kind of just committed yourself in front of a bunch of people. So
Yeah, and that's intentional. That's the only way to get something done.
we're going to hold you to it, buddy.
You got it. I want you to. If you don't see me in the meeting, call me.
You got it.
Well, the good
Thank
news
you.
is with that much of a backlog of data and that much backlog of leads, like Jim made a very excellent point, and that is that so many of those people haven't heard from anybody in regard to that property in years. So, you're going to find there definitely are some people that are, they're going to go into transition this year out of that group. It's going to happen. It will. I mean, the law of statistics is on your side there. You do the 9,000 and look at your average transition rate in Staten Island, and you're going to find, probably 100 of those properties are going to change hands in the next 12 months.
That's right.
So that's a great opportunity just to put yourself in the right position. And it's a great door opener. Hey, I talked to you a while back. Nothing had happened then, and I'm very thorough, and you popped up on my list again.
And the approach we're taking, and I'm sure if somebody listening, I don't know if it's crazy or not, but if I call from my cell phone. We made a rule, we're not going to call from the office. So everybody will use their cell phone number. And I'm realizing that sometimes they call you right back. Sometimes they pick up the phone while you're leaving a message for them. So the very first numbers that have a little home symbol on it. So that's the number that's registered in the court system, I believe. So I call there. Usually that's a home number in some cases. So I try to leave messages, right? I think the first 2-3 numbers are okay. After that is different names matching randomly. So few times, actually, I would say so far out of the 54 calls, about 6 or 7 times, people picked up while I was leaving a message for them. Like, hello, and then you have a conversation, and good or bad, whatever it is. One guy just told me he's a realtor himself. He's kind of rude. It's okay. And I'm like us.
Hey, Dill, have you set up in your CRM to use click to dial with your cell phone?
No, I'm still. There's a dialer for the cell phone. See, I'm bad, man. So tell me, so what is it? Is a dialer hooked up with a cell phone?
Yeah, one of our Tim or Bruce, you want to handle that, how that works, but it's relatively easy. If you got any major carrier, it's relatively easy to set up.
Toby is on this call, Jim, and Toby, if you guys would reach out to Dill after the call and walk him through the click to dial, that'd be great.
Dill, you're going to have like 5 conversations today.
I'm looking forward to it. It's time.
Yeah, Toby.
Yeah, it allows you to call the leads directly from the CRM, basically. It's not an auto dialer, but you just click on the lead and it'll call from your cell phone.
I see. Well, it beats this.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
100%.
Saves a lot of time having to enter the number. That's what I was thinking.
Thank you.
So on those calls, what number comes up as calling them?
They will dial the number in the order that's there, right?
No. Yes, it's dialing the number.
Yeah,
but
you'll have to configure it all, but that's what Toby will walk you through. You can have the appearance be whatever you want it to be. There are 2 numbers on your phone. There's the actual number, that's the actual digits that are there, and then you have, in essence, the friendly name, which is there, and that's a number that you can actually input depending on who your carrier is. You have the ability to input that data, which is your caller ID data.
I see. Okay, cool. We'll learn about the system. I never used the caller before, but why not?
Get it right, get it going, and you'll do well. I'm sure you will.
Thank you. Looking forward.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing you get some action out of this.
Oh, wow. I want to get into Brooklyn too now. So.
All right, good enough. Hey, Bruce, just wanted to kind of quickly ask you one other quick question about about kind of what we talked about, but more importantly, more about mastery and all of that. We're constantly struggling to make sure that we're giving as much as we possibly can, to get people rolling and get people moving. And we've been working with the mastery program for, the better part of a decade. And when Bruce took that program over, he's set about to get a lot of it redone and, modernized, brought up to date, up to speed and all of that. And one of the things that we're going to be doing, and I'm going to sort of spring this on you, Bruce, but I think we need to do quick mailing to everybody that we've had, pop something out via email that talks about the changes that have been made in the course and maybe an offer to, replenish their knowledge base and kind of get caught up a little bit.
Yeah. Or is that a question?
Yeah, it was sort of a statement followed by a question.
Okay. Yeah, no, I agree. So for those that were in probate mastery before a year ago, the programs, the training, um, almost looks 100% different than it did then. Almost. You've heard a couple of people like Eric just came on and mentioned that he was working through the original probate mastery with Chad. So the original probate mastery is up. I did a version last year that was good. It was taught live, and during that version that we did, questions would come up, and I'd go, you know what? I don't have that on my outline. You know what? That's a really good question. Maybe we should do a class on it. And after 5 days, that were half days of doing that and about 17 or 18 hours of training content material, I said, you know what? This is a good class, but I'm just going to redo the whole thing. And so this year, starting in January, a couple of months ago, we've been in the middle of a redo. So the new probate mastery is going to have 30, 40 plus hours of in-depth training. So Chad's program's still up. Another thing is we're putting out, and I'm just going to go ahead and say it now, just like Dill, put myself out there, no choice except for to do it. We're going to put out weekly probate foundations classes for free for the people that want to dip their toes in the water before jumping into a certification program. Now, I think you guys should all get the certification program. It's as affordable now as it's ever going to be. When it's redone, it's not going to be as low as it is now, but we're doing weekly foundations classes that you guys can attend live. Now, the only thing is that's what I'm committing to Tim. I got to get you guys at All The Leads the links for that, because right now it's just an on-demand class. It's not as good as coming to a live session where you get to ask questions. So for anyone that likes to just test the waters a little bit and see if probate maybe is right for you, that's what that class is for. It's an hour and a half, 2 hours, depending on the number of questions, and it'll break apart what is probate, how do your clients navigate through probate, how can you help, how do you prospect, how do you market, what's the real opportunity in your market, and when you're done, you've got a great idea of whether probate is something that's worth pursuing. Hint, the answer is probably going to be yes if you prospect. Okay. How many times have we seen people come in and they don't do anything? And they always say, just like Dill said, hey, Dill's still here. Okay. Been getting leads, still here. Because once you get in, you recognize the opportunity. Out of any list, about 30 to 40% of that list has a house that will sell. Not 30 to 40% has a house. 30 to 40% have a house that is going to sell. So the opportunity with probate is huge, and that's why I'm revamping that program to try to really convey step by step a full business system that you guys, anyone that jumps in that is willing to implement, is willing to put the effort in, can plug into your business. And I've got students that have gone through this stuff that are doing like 20 probate deals a month. A month. Okay. I also have people that are doing 4 or 5 probate deals a year. All right. And the difference is strictly implementation. So we want to just make sure that with the redo that you guys have everything that you need, and then it's going to be up to you as to whether you're willing to implement or not. And I'm going to say willing. Not able, but willing. Because if I can do it, I promise you, any of you guys can.
And Bruce,
Okay.
speaking of that, we're always looking for people that have successfully implemented. We're always looking for our winner of the week, somebody who's recently done a deal put a contract together, taken a listing. Anybody has a success story they want to share. And I'm going to pick a little bit on one of our mega affiliates, Casey King's on the call. Casey, do you have any of your army of people that are making the calls that have had any wins lately you want to share? If you do, raise your hand. I know Michael White. I see a lot of people that I know are actually working the system. So raise your hand and brag about a deal that you either are involved in or that you know about. We're looking to give away some money.
I'm looking. I'm not going to call any names. I'm not going to call any names like Jim just did, but I'm looking at two people that I know are taking massive action that I'm hoping are going to raise their hand and share a little bit.
This sounds like you're calling from the pulpit, Bruce.
Yeah, I see that hand.
I see two people in the congregation out there who are. I think you've done that too often. Casey, how you doing, Casey?
I am great. Thanks for asking. Sorry, I'm on my mobile, so I'm not able to raise my hand through the app. But yes, we do have several success stories through the probate process within All The Leads. Myself, I've shared a few of my personal success stories on separate calls, but our partners that we work with and provide them lead sources through All The Leads with probate and pre-probate have amazing success, not just with sending mailers, but when that's coupled with the phone call, that's when they really, if you send a mailer, I think the response rate is probably less than 1% if it's done by itself. But when they marry that up with a phone call, that's when the magic happens and they're able to get deals signed up with that. So yes, I don't have a total count of where we are, but I know of at least 3 deals that were had that came through probate leads from All The Leads.
That's great.
Yeah.
Cool deal. Yeah, I think you're making a good point about we've from the very beginning the things that we've tried to make sure we automate, and we teach and believe the same thing is that it's mail and a call, mail and a call. Mail warms up the call. The call is much better call if you're calling about something that they have that's tangible they can hold on to. And you call it out of the stack when it's there. You make it actionable when you do that. And you need to try and make sure that you're doing that as quickly after that mail goes out as possible. So that's kind of how we're teaching, and it's good that you're implementing that. And obviously we love working with you and your team.
So I'm gonna add to what Casey just shared, because that's probably the biggest mistake that I see people make is they do one or the other. And this is really, when it comes to your interaction with clients, this is really a 3-step system. There's cold marketing. It's going to create, depending on your market, a 0.5%, 1%, 2% return. Depending on your market, I've seen better with just cold marketing. I've seen some people that only do cold mail, but in most markets, you need to pair it with phone calls. And then what happens when you start that conversation? Are you listening to the right things that they're saying? Are you understanding what their words mean? Or are you just listening to their words? So a classic example of this, and I've role played with people, and that you'll call and go, "Hey, is that house something that you guys are going to be selling?" And the person on the other end goes, "Which house?" And you're like, "Oh, hey, I'm so sorry I bothered you, and I'm gonna let you go." And you didn't know. And this seems kind of basic to a lot of us, but I hear these calls. The person that's calling didn't know that they mean, "I have a lot of houses. Which one are you asking about?" So that's just an example. So you gotta train yourself to hear what the person's saying, and then implement a great follow-up campaign, including marketing, a great follow-up campaign. So cold mail, phone calls, follow-up campaign. And your follow-up campaign absolutely needs to include marketing.
Go ahead, Dill.
So I do send out a letter that for 8 years, 9 years, the only thing I was doing was a letter. And then randomly here and there, I would get a call. Those were the ones who were just ready to be sold. I go there, I list the property, and that was it. Now I'm calling, and as I'm calling and I'm going in the system, I mean, if you look back, pretty sad reality, because sometimes I wouldn't even log into the system for months, right? But I'm realizing that every contact have email addresses as well. But many times those email addresses are from when you try to figure out the email address, looks like they're associated with the deceased person. So it's their email address. The person has passed away. So somebody using that email address. So I'm just thinking, is that in the system flaw or something where there's sometimes 2, 3, 4 email addresses? Should we start an email campaign and send some kind of email as well? And if anybody's doing it, any ideas on what to send out? I don't want to be so blunt, but if there's an email set up over there, then we can do it in a way that when our team, whoever calls, along with that, send an email from that person, and then they'll have multiple emails, but any subject line, any ideas on that? Because my letter is pretty, this is my letter, which is like boring and very long. But the people who read it all, when they call me, they're already sold on it. I just fill out the form and get the listing because they read and they appreciate the value. So any ideas?
So one, add a few extra letters, add a short letter, add a longer letter than that. That's pretty long. Add a longer letter that's maybe 2 or 3 pages long. Add one that's a paragraph. That the signature is, you might as well, it's like 3 lines long of content and then your signature. So add a little bit into the mail campaign. Email. Email. And we have people, or I know people that are sending cold emails. My suggestion is don't send it from your primary everyday email address, because if a certain number bounce back, and they will, so if you take all those emails, I promise you some of them are defunct. If a certain percentage bounce back, you will get your email address flagged as a spammer, and you'll never go in anybody else's inbox again. You'll go in everybody else's spam box. So like I'll set up a separate domain and email account, and I'll email from that, and I'm just looking for the responses. Okay. And if that email address that I set up gets burned and flagged as spam one day, that's okay. It's not my everyday email. So don't send emails from your everyday email would be very specific advice that I would give you on that. Aside from that, yeah, it's not going to hurt to send out an email. And I've heard some success stories from the few people I know that are cold emailing to those addresses. It's not every day. It's probably going to be a little bit less than your mailers, physical mailers, but it'll get a response.
So there's some email marketing company. I forgot the name of it. They advertise everywhere. Is it okay to use them and just feed the email address? I mean, I'm looking at 9,000 contacts. I'm just thinking, if I have just hired somebody to feed all those email addresses, export them, and put them into a system where start a campaign, not from my personal email or business email, but a marketing company that I forgot the name of it. They send email.
There are a lot of companies. There are a lot of companies
Yeah.
that will do that, Dill. It's
Right.
it is a specialty that's out there. But the thing that I would urge you to do before you turn your list over to somebody like that is to have a long conversation with them about the Can Spam Act. Make sure that you're not going to put yourself in jeopardy.
Yep.
I can assure you that they will have a waiver that holds you responsible for anything they do on your behalf. So you need to be similarly wise about what you're asking them to do and all of that. One of the things that Bruce mentioned that we advise you to do right now is to have your deliverability of those emails before you send anything. There are services out there who will groom your list. And what they'll do is, without sending it under your name, they'll find out if it's a deliverable email. What Bruce pointed out is that oftentimes, just like we're encouraging you to do, people set up burner email addresses. Just like people buy burner phones, they have burner email addresses for that kind of reason, because they don't want to get their main communication email address flagged. So you got to be careful about doing that. But make sure that you get if you're going to start emailing, that you run them through a screening. Now, one of the things that we're actually looking right now and have been for a while at, what do we want to do to help you make this possible? And like always, we're trying to err on the side of caution. So we're doing the same kind of look at that data and what your liability is and what you have to do to be compliant with canned spam. And a lot of the things that are involved in that are making sure, first off, that you change your marketing policy so that you begin to generate contacts. You have full permission to contact them in any way you want to contact them. You'll notice our forms online are all starting to change now, where we ask for that permission. We specifically and explicitly say, would you give us permission to contact you via the following mechanisms? And the laws are getting pretty clear about what you can and can't do.
Yep.
So just be careful about that. Don't go wildly and send 9,000 times, 2 or 3 emails a piece off to a list company who says, "Oh, we'll take care of it for you." They will. They'll send it out, but it'll be the last time you'll send anything.
Yeah, I got you.
Oh.
Okay, good. Slow and steady.
Yeah, but I think you need to, as you develop those relationships, just make sure you have that conversation with people, and ultimately we're going to give you some good advice about where to send people to get that permission level, so that you can you need to have something valuable you're going to send them to start with. There's got to be a reason for them to want to go give you permission to contact them. And we're going to try to, put a program together to help you get that out, and we'll come back with that pretty soon. Steve, go ahead, bud.
So one of the things that Bruce teaches when you're having a conversation with someone, maybe they're putting you off. Sounds like you don't need my help today. Yeah, that's right. And I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to send you a checklist or a flyer with something that explains the services I offer. Would that be fair? And when they say yes, okay, where do I send it to? Well, once you get that email address, now you've got their permission. They've opted in.
Mm-hmm.
They've given it to you. And you may have an email address in your lead that shows that. You can either verify it or it's a different address. But you can always justify that you received their email address from them. And that is social capital in terms of marketing. And then you can start a drip campaign, much like Dill's got. He's got a long letter, short letter, or as Bruce said, go to a small paragraph. Maybe they're not ready to do anything with the home right now. When everybody else has abandoned them, if you've got emails that are randomly showing up into their inbox after they've given you their email address, whether they open them up or not, you're still getting your name and your business in front of them. And when they are ready to deal, well, who's standing? You are.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you showed an interest. Okay, and those emails sometimes could be not so much about the property, but just, hey, how's everything going as you're working through the issues in the estate? Are there any things I can help you with where you're trying to solve their problem? And I think that keeps you out, like you said, Jim, the canned spam that. Because sure, I see emails all the time on my leads, but until I feel hesitant about sending an email or something out, unless I've got them to opt in some way.
Cool. Thank you.
And that's what you need to be careful about. And the other thing about that is we're going to, and I encourage you to do this, find some things that you can reply back with in a PDF as opposed to a printed document at some point, because that way you can get that permission to use email and to use text to do that. Let me zap this back over to you, via text or whatever. It'd be a good way to get that info, but you're still going to have to find a place that they can give you that permission, whether that's on your website or a website or, some place giving you the ability to associate an email address with permission to respond. And that way you can do that. And if they give you your phone number, email address, now you can talk by text, phone, email, and mail. Those are your normal communication channels, and you get full permission. That gives you at least 90 days, if not 6 months, to easily contact that person by any way that you choose. So you need to figure out a way to do that. And we'll talk some more about that. We did take too long to do it on the call now, but we'll reserve that for coming up in a couple of weeks. Okay.
Cool. Thank you.
Anybody else got anything? We're kind of a slow day today. Not as breakneck exciting as some of ours are, but I think the encouragement there. I see names and folks on here that have been with us a while, and I know that you've got leads to process and things that you've been working for a while. And, the same things that we're talking about, Dill trying to go back and do, if we're all honest with ourselves, me included, there are a lot of things that, we have great intentions to get done, and that doesn't always translate to action. And today it's time to do something about that. And one of the hardest things to do is get past that first step, take small action. I've been immersed lately in AI crap, and I'll tell you that the challenge there is you always feel like you're drinking from a fire hose, and the more you drink, the more there is out there. And what you learned yesterday is invalidated by somebody's new toy today. And it dawned on me that it's the old adage about, how do you eat an elephant? You take a bite at a time. Same kind of story. Everybody's in the same boat. Nobody's doing all this at once. And it is crazy about how it's moving forward at the speed that it's moving, but you got to take some action there. David, what's up, bud? Unmute yourself, and what do you have to say there?
All right. Well, I've been listening to Bruce's classes again, which highly recommend the probate mastery classes. It's very helpful. I feel like I do much better when I'm just taking in information and teaching and things like that in regards to this space. But I do have 2 probate escrows, so kind of a good report. And that's recent. That was last week. And then I came across a prospect that has 9 properties. So I'm going through all those 9 properties, and some of them are just pretty spectacular, and they're going to sell all 9. And the implication is eventually when they do sell, which is, a little ways down the road, that they're going to use me to sell all 9 properties.
Nice.
Yeah. And
How
I
long
can't
have you
say
had
enough
that-
good things. One.
How long have you
Go
had that lead?
Actually, this is a new lead.
Great.
Yeah. This is a brand new lead, brand new list, and called him and had multiple properties all over the state. And so yeah, following up with that. And then another thing that has been really helpful, like I said, with Bruce's class, just there's a lot of intricate details that you kind of have to dig in and repeat to to take away some of these nuggets. But it was really the whole thing about going to the courthouse, I put that off so long because I just didn't feel like dragging myself down to the courthouse on my free day. And I did, and I see the benefit of that. And that's it.
You're in Hawaii, right?
Yeah.
So how's your market there at this point? Are you seeing is the market still growing in terms of value?
It really just depends. Very spotty. Depends on the area. So yeah, it really just depends on the area and the type of real estate that you're doing. And yeah, I mean, overall, it's fairly stable. It's right now, it's about as balanced of a market as it's been in a long time. We have 3.5 months supply, 4 to 6 is a balanced market. So it slightly favors the seller, but overall, Hawaii is a good market. It's pretty flat right now, but it's a good market.
And are all the 9 proper?
If you ever wanted to buy Hawaii, now's the time to buy Hawaii.
Yeah, that's kind of why I'm asking.
Because it's not going to be flat for very long. What's that?
That's why I was kind of asking the question. I was on a call a couple of days ago, and one of the people there had property on Lanai and one of the other islands, and sort of said the same thing, that it was a sort of a lull in value right now, and that it was a good time in Hawaii if you were investing this is a good time to do that. So I just wondered if you were seeing that. You're right on the ground level.
Yeah, I think that if you were ever to buy Hawaii, it's not going to get any better than now.
Cool. Yeah, we always ask when we find somebody that's kind of out in the boonies a little bit, it kind of helps everybody get perspective on, what goes on. Bill Bird is frequently on the call, and, in his market, a small fixer-upper is $800,000-900,000. And, in some of our markets, that's not the case. So it's always interesting to see what's going on. And of course, you live in what everyone assumes is paradise, and it's a beautiful area there, but sometimes market value there changes differently than it does in the 48 states.
Yeah, generally it's pretty high. It really depends what island you're on. So the Big Island, and actually that's where some of these leads are, the 9 properties. It's all on the Big Island. Big Island is a lower price market. So, but still, there's still great leads, great properties. And it's really interesting because on the Big Island, you have lava zones, right? You have 9 lava zones, 1 through 9. So depending on the lava zone is basically the value. So it makes it a little different. This is in lava zone 3, which is pretty good. That means that you don't have to worry about lava taking and burning your house up on the next eruption. So that's always good.
Hey, David, I'm curious, what do you consider a lower priced property? I think that definition is going to vary greatly from our people on the call. What for you? What would be a lower price property?
Yeah, these are in the 250 range.
Okay,
300K range.
That is lower than I thought would be available in Hawaii. So that's interesting.
Yeah. On the Big Island, there are some sections that are 250. Yeah, so this is definitely a lower price point area, but then some of the properties are as high as 1.2. So 2 of them are about 1.2, which is, a good price. And then, but most of them are in the 250 range.
Cool beans.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I've got a hard stop at 2. I'm going to have to run. I'm going to turn it over to Jim. If anybody else has a question, you can raise your hand. But if not, Jim, I think it's probably time to do your thing here, bud.
Yep. Going. Any last minute questions? As always, I want to thank each and every one of you for being here today. And particularly thank, our coaches, Connor, Steve, Eric, Bruce, Dill, Casey King, and David. And I think it's safe to say David is our winner of the week. And David, hopefully you won't have to prompt me this time. It's not the first time you've won. But our staff's on the call. We'll make sure we get out to you. You had some good success stories, so we appreciate you sharing. And I want to challenge each of you, take one thing that inspired you on this call, go out and put it into practice, and please come back next Thursday and share your results with the group. Have a great week, everybody. Same time next Thursday. Take care.